This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome back, guys. We're on episode number 162 of the Fan Report. I'm Nick, and with me is Andrew.
What's up, guys?
We're here. It's draft day. Well, technically, when this launches, it'll be draft day.
It's draft day.
It's draft day. A day that is not only exciting, but also nerve-wracking for, I don't even want to just say Pistons fans, but like all Detroit sports fans, because we have a tendency to bomb this pick at times. But we also have, recency bias would say we've done pretty well with drafts in this town. At least we hope, we think, we're pretty sure. But there's a lot of question marks going into this draft on Thursday. There's, honestly, within the last week, even more question marks that have been brought up. But this week, this Thursday, could potentially signal the end of the Pistons rebuild. The beginning of the end of the Pistons rebuild. We have Cade Cunningham.
I don't know about the end, but the beginning of the end.
I mean, I would. What else do you like beyond this next guy? You know, whoever it is. Say it's Chet Holmgren. Say it's Jabari Smith. Say it's Jaden Ivey. Beyond this player, how much of a core rebuild is still needed? Because I would argue if there's anything else of a core rebuild that's still needed, then Troy Weaver hasn't done a very good job.
Well, it depends. You think what we're going to wind up with in this draft is another superstar?
Well, we don't have a superstar. Let's just preface things by saying that.
Well, I know, but like another potential superstar is what I'm saying.
I don't think there is a potential superstar in this draft. I think there are potential stars, but I think there are. I don't see a.
Wouldn't you argue outside of, having a guy like Giannis, you probably need two superstars in the NBA?
No. Oh well. No, because the Celtics don't have any, and they just went to the NBA Finals. Tatum is on the cusp. But beyond him, they don't have another superstar. Jaylen Brown is a borderline star. Borderline. He's their next best player.
They'll be able to get it done. They made it to the finals. I'll give them that.
Okay. I would love a finals appearance in this damn town. Just saying. I'd love one. And they went to 6 games. They absolutely could have.
I mean, the Heat made the finals in the bubble year, and they were a very half-baked roster at the time. They just meshed together at the right time.
I don't count that year. Nobody should. But you can win in this league without multiple superstars. It's just you can. It's been proven. I mean, the Phoenix Suns don't have multiple superstars. They have Devin Booker. You can make an argument that Chris Paul, although Chris Paul in his old age is not a superstar anymore. He's a really good role player.
I mean, role player. He's still playing like one of the best point guards in the NBA.
Borderline star in my mind in today's game. Overall, throughout the course of his career, is one of the greatest point guards ever. But the way he plays today, he's a borderline star. There are better players in this league than him at his position. He's one of the greats. He's one of the better players. He's probably top 25, top 30, top 40. But like superstar in my mind is top 10. That's a superstar. You don't need 2 of those to win. You need probably one of those, and I think Cade potentially could be.
And there's the one guy that there's a legitimate chance of him being there at 5 that we've been talking about is Jaden Ivey. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar. I'm not even saying he has a superstar ceiling. I'm saying he's the closest to a superstar ceiling of what you're working with.
I'm not even going to gauge it on we need a superstar because I don't think we do. We need a star. We need a really, really good player, a great player even. I'm not saying we need a guy who potentially could be a top 10 or top 15 or even top 20 player in the league. We need a guy that can be either right around there, that 15 to 20 to just outside that. That's, in my mind, Jaden Ivey absolutely can be that someday. Even if he's a little bit, 25, top 25, that's fine too. Like, but that's my point. Like, beyond, say Cade becomes a superstar, becomes one of the 10, 15 best players in the league. Jaden Ivey becomes one of the 25, 30 best players in the league. Beyond that, what else do you need? In terms of your core roster.
That's basically what I'm getting at is you have two top 50 players and that's basically what I'm getting at. Like when I say
So
superstar, I don't mean like superstar, but like.
So then my point of, this is the beginning of the end for the rebuild. This is the end of the rebuild, potentially, stands. If you have two players in the top 30, you're probably contending at that point. There's no rebuild there anymore. So this pick is extremely crucial in my mind.
So yeah, possibly the one guy who has that kind of ceiling in this draft from where you're picking at 5 is Jaden Ivey. And reports have just come out that Jaden Ivey's actually only worked out for 2 teams. Do you know who those 2 teams are, Nick?
I believe it's the Pistons, and I know it's not the Kings. The Kings don't ever work out the guy they draft, a la Davion Mitchell.
It's Pistons and Magic.
That's
the number 1 overall pick and the Pistons.
And I feel
basically saying either I'm going number 1 or I want to go to Detroit.
I feel the Magic were just doing their diligence and seeing what's there between the top 5 guys or top 4 or 5 guys there. Like I think that's more of a diligence play on their part. I think there's only one team that he seriously is thinking he could potentially go to in, of the 2 teams he worked out, because I don't think he thinks going number 1. I don't think the Magic are looking at him to go number 1. Mm-hmm. I think in all likelihood, the Pistons are the best case scenario for us, obviously, and for him, because who the hell wants to end up in Sacramento? But
everyone is still touting the idea of the fact, the fact he didn't work out with Sacramento. You have a contingent of people saying he didn't work out for them. They don't want him. The owner wants Keegan Murray. Like, they're not taking Jaden Ivey. And then there's the other half. There's the other half that say they didn't work out Davion Mitchell and still drafted him.
I think the people in the former don't understand how the Kings run their organization and haven't been watching how the Kings handle things over the last decade.
But I do want to point out, I do think there is a very distinct difference between the 2 scenarios here. In the latter scenario, they didn't work out Davion Mitchell because they didn't think Davion Mitchell was going to be there when they picked.
Okay.
Jaden Ivey is going to be there when the Kings pick. They legitimately didn't work him out because...
We think.
I mean, in my view, it looks like they don't have interest, but I can never tell what the Kings do. The Kings are the most random organization in the NBA.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't rule out them taking Jaden Ivey, but I am not sinner saying that the fact they didn't work out Davion Mitchell is the reason why they would take Jaden Ivey.
Well, no, that's not the reason they would take Jaden Ivey.
No, that's the logic for why.
I think that's perfectly fair logic, and the reason is because if the Kings wanted Davion Mitchell, you work him out. And if they're that's the idea. If they're, even if you don't think he's going to be there, you work him out. Unless it's a guy who is a consensus number 1 or number 2 pick, you work him out. Unless you've already seen enough, then you just take the guy if he's there. If he's not, well, you move on. And I think the same situation could be true with the Kings. They've seen enough of Jaden Ivey. They know that he either does or does not fit what they want. They don't need to work out a guy like that. And that's why I absolutely think Jaden Ivey is 100% in play for the Kings at 4.
What do you think is more likely? Jaden Ivey to the Kings at 4 or Jaden Ivey to another team at 4?
Jaden Ivey to the Kings at 4. And the reason I say it is because the Kings want an absolute King's ransom for that number 4 pick. No pun intended. But
if they're taking Keegan Murray, that would mean they think Keegan Murray is worth that King's ransom.
Right. What?
And if they actually think Keegan Murray there, that would mean they think Keegan Murray is worth that King's ransom.
No, they know Keegan Murray is not worth that. That's why they want to trade back. Because I do think Keegan Murray probably is the guy they want. He's just not the guy that's who they should take at 4. Mm-hmm. If they're stuck at the 4th pick, I think Jaden Ivey's their pick. They're going to want to trade that pick out, but they're going to want a haul for it.
So more like we're going to take him just so the Pistons can't have him kind of thing?
No, we're going to take him because he's the best player on the board.
Yeah, we don't want him, but we don't want anyone else to have him, so we're taking him.
I don't think it's we don't want him. I think it's he's the best player on the board. We need talent. I firmly.
It would be the most Kings thing though to trade Tyrese Halliburton and then turn around and draft Jaden Ivey.
Yes, it would. And you know what? Jaden Ivey would hate his entire career. And the Kings would do something yet again that just makes me question what the hell is going on in that organization. Mm-hmm. But he is the best player on the board. It would be technically the right pick in my mind. Mm-hmm. I just think that they're probably asking a little bit too much to teams like Detroit, like OKC, to move into that pick. Mm-hmm. I think they're dreaming.
Another piece of info that we've gotten a couple tidbits from Shaden Sharp interviews. I don't know if you've seen these.
I have not.
But, I want to know what your thought. I'm not going to put the cart before the horse. I'm not going to lead the witness. I just want to give you the quotes, and you give me your thoughts on said quotes. So he did interview with the Kings, and I don't know what the question that was posed was, but gauging from his answer, he was asked something along the lines of what he could bring to the team, kind of thing. And his answer was, and I quote, oh my gosh, now it's blocking my thing. I'm a guy who can play offense as well as play defense, working up both sides of the ball. And I can get my teammates involved, give my teammates a little shine. There's give my teammates a little shine. That was one that took Reddit by storm. He also interviewed with the Spurs.
Why? What did Reddit have to say about that? I really don't have an issue with what he said there. Give his teammates a little shine. What's wrong with that? I mean, other than it's it's slightly dirty, but
no, it's not slightly dirty. It's
definitely can be portrayed that way.
Well, so with Shaden Sharp, I think, with the Spurs, sorry, he was asked, so you worked out with the Spurs at the NBA draft. How was that? Shaden replied, well, the workout was a one-on-one workout, so just really me there at the workout. It was really good. What kind of feedback did you receive from the Spurs? Was the next question asked. He said the feedback was solid. Next question, what are your thoughts on possibly joining the team if you get picked by the Spurs? His response, I play with them and end up in San Antonio. I think it will be a good team. I feel like I can really help them by scoring the ball and playing defense. Next question, is there a player on the Spurs roster you like to play with? Shaden's answer, no, not really. I see it just as a place where I can showcase myself and really play.
Okay, that's where he lost me. I honest to God, I had zero issues with any answer that he gave, other than it was a little short spoken. But
I think it lines up with what the reports were out of his workouts, saying that he basically gave him nothing in the workouts. He didn't do anything of actual interest. That's what the interviews sound like. You get nothing.
Okay, but what do you expect of a guy a week before the damn draft? How much do you? Okay, again. What do you want out of this guy? It's a week before the draft. He's being told by advisors to not do or say anything that can affect your draft stock. So his goal is to go into these interviews and say nothing.
No, go in the interview at least shows, for example, the Spurs one, at least shows some interest in the Spurs. Unless you're purposely trying not to get taken by the Spurs, at least show when a player interviews with a team, they're going to show they know players from that team and stuff like that.
And another team who could potentially take him ahead of the Spurs goes, oh, he won't want to play here. He only wants to play in San Antonio. He is instructed to say or do nothing in any of these interviews, any of these workouts, because if a team wants him, they're going to take him. Unless he does something that can negatively affect that relationship. And by saying, oh, I want to play with this guy, I will say he probably could have said, oh, I'm excited to play alongside guys like DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, that's fine. That's a general answer you'll get.
Other than that, everything else he said was perfectly fine. Because what did he say? Nothing. That's what you're supposed to do at this point of the game. When you start doing things is when you can start tripping over yourself and hurting your draft stock. When you start doing things like posting videos of you smoking pot in a gas mask, that's where you can get fucked. Don't do anything. Don't say anything. Just stay hidden.
We're equating just showing off some basketball knowledge to smoking pot in a gas mask.
My point is, his advisors are instructing him to do and say nothing. Because the minute he starts glowing about another organization is the minute the team in front of them that we're looking at him say, oh, he's not going to want to play here. We shouldn't take him. That shit matters. Especially when it's a week before the draft. He's not trying to sell teams on him at this point. He's just trying not to fuck it up. And frankly, that's the best decision he could make. Because at this point, if he does show things, he could fuck it up. Because that's all that's going to change right now. He knows he's not inside the top 3. So what's the point? He knows he's 4, 5, 6, or 7. What's the point? Do nothing and don't fuck it up.
With recent mock drafts, it's looked more like 7, 8, 9 kind of thing.
Again, do nothing and don't fuck it up. That's what his goal is right now. Because the more he starts to do things, is the more people can start poking holes in the things he can do. You can't poke holes in nothing, can you?
That's been my theory about why the workouts have seemingly been so limited with Shane Sharp.
See, my point is, though, Andrew, is you look at guys who seemingly have zero holes. Look at guys that are at the top of the draft in NFL, NBA, that we, are consensus number one picks for the longest time. And they should be the number one pick. Well, the more we look at guys and what they do and what they say, the more holes we poke in them. We know they're great prospects, but we start to poke holes in things and say, oh, this might not be a weird pick. You're grasping at straws, but it might not be a good idea. This looked bad. That looked bad. The more Shaden Sharp does things and says things, the more opportunity there is for people to say, wait a minute, I didn't like that. So what's the best case scenario for him? We haven't seen anything thus far, so just keep, and we've gotten this far, so just keep doing what you're doing. Nothing. It's the best possible scenario for him going into this draft. Do I think it creates the best situation for him to succeed? No. But it's the best case for him not to lose his draft stock? Yes.
So, don't go on a film session with Mike Smits.
No, I don't.
Most of the people in his range have been doing.
No, I don't. I don't go on a film session. I don't do shit. I'm not trying to
because that actually put
me at this
Shane
point.
Ivey's film session with Mike Smith actually put me higher on him. It helped.
And you know what? That's great, but that may not be the case with everybody.
Yeah.
Or you may like certain things about the film session, but not others. And a team can be turned off by that. Maybe one team values the things you didn't look great on more so than the things you did. That's what I'm trying to get at is if you don't show anything, he already is where he is. He's already gotten this far by showing nothing. So what's the point of showing anything at this point? He's not going to climb. What's the point?
There is a point because he could still get taken as high as 4, and
ain't happening.
By at least alleviating some of the questions.
Ain't
about
happening.
him.
I don't think there is a legitimate, serious source that firmly believes he's going to be taken inside the top 5.
Not
at this
anymore.
point, no. Yeah, a month ago, sure.
You and I both saw it.
A month ago.
Yeah. That's
We're
what I'm saying.
Closer to the draft. I don't think I don't know.
I know.
His
so you're talking
specifically
talking specifically at this point, not throughout the whole draft process.
Okay, well, we can't go back in time, can we?
No, that's what I'm asking you the question. So you're talking specifically about this point?
Yes.
He's better off doing nothing?
Why the fuck would he say anything anymore? He doesn't have to. He is where he is. What is it? What is one interview with the Spurs going to change a damn thing about his draft stock? Oh, he talked really good in the interview. Let's take him ahead of the Spurs. No, that ain't going to change a damn thing.
But in other news, we also have a couple Pistons-related rumors. The first one, and I'll do this one first since we've already talked about this one at length, but I can't remember who brought it up, actually. But it's been brought up again. The Atlanta Hawks at number 16 is seemingly still on the table for Jeremy Grant. Atlanta Hawks number 16 and Boban Bogdanovic. Oh, I said Boban.
Bogdan and 16 for Jeremy Grant. Hell yeah. You mean hell yeah? Why would I say no to that?
No. Now, there has been another rumor floating around. The Knicks have been interested in trading up to number 5. This is per
where are they?
This is per SNY's Ian Bagley. I believe the Knicks are at 11, but you can correct me if I'm wrong there.
You're gonna have to pay a lot to get me to pull out top 5. To move
it says, and per Ian Bagley from SNY, Cam Reddish's name has come up in conversation and would fit Detroit's timeline.
No.
Well, I wasn't asking you to take Cam Reddish. No. I was asking you.
I'll be straight with you. I don't think the Knicks have
What would it take for you to move back to? I believe it's 11. I'm double checking right now, but I believe it's 11. Yep, 11.
Answer this. Because I'm going to assume that this trade happens when the Pistons are making their pick, because that's when all draft day trades happen. Is Jaden Ivey on the board?
No. Just for shits and gigs, no. By the way, the mock draft I pulled up from CBS to see where the Knicks are picking is really interesting.
Where are they picking?
No, the Knicks are picking 11, but I'm saying the mock draft is really interesting that I just pulled up.
What is it?
It's a CBS mock draft.
Okay.
Let me preface this by saying Jaden Ivey goes 6.
What? So what do we take? Ben Math or Keegan Murray at 5?
Ben Math went to the Kings at 4.
Well, we know that's not going to happen.
Shaden Sharp went to the Rockets at 3.
We know that's not going to happen.
We get Chet Holmgren at
What? All right, so what kind of drugs did this guy take? Because I want some.
I am so in for this mock draft.
How old is this mock draft? Just out of curiosity. Like
Yesterday.
When was it? What?
I am so. This is a CBS mock from yesterday.
This dude was either pushing random buttons or was really fucked up when he made it.
I am so in for this
That's
mock
ridiculous.
draft.
But no, like if Jaden Ivey is off the board there, and all let's say the big four are off the board. Our options are Keegan Murray, Ben Math, etc. I am more willing to make a trade to the Knicks. It'll probably take their pick this year, their pick next year, Cam Reddish type of deal. Like it's going to take a lot. The reason I say I'm more willing to is because I'm not so sure that guys like Ben Math and Keegan Murray, definitely not Keegan Murray. I'm off on him, but I'm not sure that they end a rebuild.
I prefer Jaden, but
I mean, I do too, but I don't think he's a guy that ends a rebuild. You know what I mean? Like I think he's a role player.
I'm still not sold. Jaden is a guy that ends a rebuild. There's some stuff to work on.
I think Jaden Ivey is a guy that can end your rebuild.
He can. There's some stuff we need to see him put together. But.
I think it is likely. Like I think he's a guy whose potential reaches that point.
I also, by the way, I heard a rumor on 971 today that Memphis is trying to trade up for Jaden Ivey. And I'm like, what the hell would that look like? Ja Morant and Jaden Ivey together.
The trade behind that was Memphis's pick this year, Memphis's pick next year, the year after, and one of Brandon Clark or Dylan Brooks is what I had heard.
Interesting.
Which I don't think I'm doing that if I'm the Grizzlies. Those guys are important. They're good guys. But anyways, to get me to move back to 11 though was tough.
Yep.
And like if Jaden Ivey's there, there's nothing that the Knicks have that can get me out of that spot. I don't think anything on their roster is that enticing to me. And frankly, if Jaden Ivey's there, you can say, oh, I'll give you 3 of our draft picks. If you're the New York Knicks, I'll give you 3 future firsts. I'll give you our first this year, 2 firsts, the following however many years. Not protected, I still would say no. And the reason is because I don't want draft picks at that point. Like I want people who can contribute and win now. I'm not willing to push our rebuild 6 more years. Like I'm done with this.
Yeah, because I'd bet like even guys like Jeremy Sochan and Dyson Daniels are probably off the board by 11 too.
Right, you're not getting anything of true value that can help you compete within the next 2 years at 11. Like unless you get lucky, unless a Donovan Mitchell or Devin Booker is there, but there's not.
Yeah.
Well, as far as we know, but if he's off the board, I'm more willing to do it. It's just going to take a lot. That's all.
And if he's on the board, it's just out of the question.
It's out of the question.
Yeah.
There's nothing that... Because, again, you can give me 15 first-round picks over the next 30 years. I don't give a damn. I don't want that. Like, I don't want draft picks anymore. I want winning basketball.
That's why I am okay doing, like, Jeremy in a future first to move up for 4 and guarantee...
Yeah, if you tell me I can get 4 and 5 in this draft, and I give up Jeremy Grant and a first, like, a protected first, like 4 years from now or 3 years from now, yeah, I'd do that. Hell yeah, I get 2 draft picks inside the top 5 in this draft.
Assuming you pull that off, which of these scenarios would you rather have? Would you rather have Jaden Ivey at 5 and then like Keegan Murray at 6, or would you rather move number 5 to Atlanta for Bogdan in 16, and then take Mark Williams, the center, at
give me the Hawk
16.
scenario.
The Hawk scenario?
Yep. I get a veteran player who's a really good role player, and I get 16 to grab another role player. Because what would I be taking at 5? A role player, most likely. And frankly, I don't really like Keegan Murray, and at that point, I won't really need Benedict Mathurin. So, like, honestly, I was going to actually say, before you mentioned that, I'd give the Thunder a call and see what they want to give me for 5. Are you going to give me a couple first-round picks, maybe in the low to mid-teens, and we'll see what we can get there? Like, yeah, I'd do that. Because at 5, I don't think there's anything of that great of value to you, but I think there could be to another team.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if I can guarantee myself Jaden Ivey at 4, I trade Jeremy Grant in a future first 3 years from now to do it, and I can add a couple more first-round picks in there, yeah, I'll take that. And that would be a real Troy Weaver scenario. Like, that would be something he would do.
Yeah, if 2020 was an indication, he likes to bounce around in the draft.
Yes.
This gets Kevin Costner on.
Yes, he does. Very much.
Should we get the mock drafts going?
You want to start those now, or do you have anything else to talk about?
I just had a couple rumors on Jaden Ivey and
Okay.
Shane Sharp, and I had a couple Pistons
How,
rumors.
like, realistically speaking, do you think the Kings are going to take Jaden Ivey at 4?
If I were to bet on it, I'm actually going to say Jaden Ivey's there at 5 for the Pistons.
Oh, God, please let that be true. Like,
But I think there's a good enough chance it doesn't happen that I'm willing to entertain the idea of Grant in the future first to move to 4. I'm not so much as enthused about moving the 5th pick and Grant for 4. But if it's Grant and like a future
Grant
first.
and the 5th? Hell no.
I said I'm not as enthused about that one.
I'm not only not enthused, I'd straight up just say hell no. Like, absolutely not at that point. You want 2 first-round pick assets to move up 1 pick? Yeah, take a walk.
Hey, Kings Reddit wanted Sadiq Bey 5 and a future first.
Kings Reddit is filled with Kings fans. Kings fans are not smart people. They're fans of the Sacramento Kings. Who's a fan of that team? God. But no, like, honestly, I would probably say until the last, 3 days, I was kind of in your boat where I was confident enough to say that I think Jaden Ivey will be there at 5. But the more I see reports that the Kings could pull Kings and they actually like Jaden Ivey, and, there's a lot of hype for him going at 4. Like, the Kings are the one organization I can see being, other organizations having so much interest in Jaden Ivey at 4 causes them to be like, oh, maybe he's really good. We should take him. Kind of a deal. Like, they would be that organization that would fall for something like that, even though I think it would be the better pick in their, it would work out in their favor. But I think it is with the hype that's around this situation and with him becoming more and more likely to be taken inside the top 4 with the recent mocks and everything coming out. It's got me legitimately worried at this point. Like, I actually think Jaden Ivey may go number 4, whether it be to the Kings or not. I don't really think the Kings are going to trade that pick. I think they just are asking for too much. But it's not going to be without a lot of effort from other teams. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of effort that try to go grab Jaden Ivey at 4 from the Kings. And if it doesn't happen, then I think there's a legitimate possibility that the Kings do take Jaden Ivey there. And that would be absolutely catastrophic for the Pistons in my mind. That's a nightmare scenario. If you want me to be honest, that's a nightmare scenario. Because I don't like Keegan Murray. And I don't really think guys like Mathurin and insert other player here are going to cause this team to take a huge step forward in the next couple of years. I think they'll help, but I don't think they'll be contending. And I want this team to be contending within the next couple of years. Like, I don't want to see this team in the lottery next year. And if they are in the lottery, I want them in the back end. Like, the very back end.
Even though next year's draft is looking really good.
I mean, yeah, that'd be nice. But at the same time, I'm done with losing.
Yeah, it's a tough thing for me because as good as next year's draft looks, every year that you're going to have some players that are super enticing in the draft. I don't want to keep being like, oh, well, wait, if we suffer one more year, we could probably get this guy. Like,
right. I'm done with suffering.
At some
now.
point, you guys
how many years have we sucked? Like, in all honesty, if you want me to be straight about it, we've sucked for 12 years. I'm done with that shit. I know we made a couple playoffs and got our asses kicked. Woo! I don't want to see that anymore. I'm done with getting our asses kicked in this league. I want to see some winning basketball. So if that means we miss out on guys at the top of the draft next year, sweet. You know what? Sign me up every damn time. I want us near 500 next year. Near. Not saying we have to be there. I'm saying I want us near it. And then the year after, we best be in the playoffs, or Troy Weaver has failed.
Question for you.
You got too much at this point.
Through this whole draft process, where have you finally landed on Shaden Sharp?
I think there's so much potential there. Like, the ceiling is so damn high, but I'm not a big believer in Canadian high school basketball. I think that the question marks are too glaring, and I haven't seen enough. And I'm also jaded as a Pistons fan with the history of Darko that it's just too much of a risk for me to say, all right, let's do it. So I think I'm going to pass on Shaden Sharp.
He did work out for the Pistons. I want to say it was last week, but don't quote me on that.
Did he back down any chairs? Or did they remove all chairs from the locker, from the court?
From what I can recall reading, it was a workout with Shaden Sharp, Ben Math, and Dyson Daniels. And reports were that Mathern was a real standout and won over quite a bit of the front office with just his compete level on the floor and basically his dog mentality.
Why do people give a damn about compete level in a 3-man workout? That is meaningless to me. Sorry, my dog just made a really weird sound. But that is absolutely meaningless to me because I don't give a shit how hard a guy competes in a 3-man workout. That's like saying, I don't know. It's just, I don't want to pull the AI. We talking about practice, but like we talking about a workout.
Yeah, but it's kind of like the thing of like if you're competing this hard in this environment, like you're a competitor at heart kind of thing. Like,
I'll be honest with you, I think that is one of the biggest fallacies I've ever heard of. I think that is a straight up bold-faced lie to say that just because a guy tries hard when he pulls out a workout means he's going to try hard in a game. I think that's straight up a lie.
Well, I'd rather see that than see someone not try to work out.
I don't give a shit. You want me to be like, I want to see you sitting on the sidelines playing with your thumbs the whole time? No, get in the damn game. But do I think it has any bearing on how you are as a basketball player because you try hard in a workout? No. It's a fallacy, and it's a fallacy basketball fans love to believe in. I could bet you that if we go back through draft history and the pre-draft process of a lot of these guys that don't try in today's NBA, I bet you we could find a lot of reports that said, oh, they worked so hard in their workouts. Guess what? It doesn't translate. Not every time it doesn't. Because because it's a fallacy. I think it's full of shit. We're a week before the draft. Who gives a damn?
I mean,
at this point, what are we trying to figure out? Like, if you don't know at this point about these players, then your scout should just be fired because we're 3 days before the damn draft. If you don't know who these players are, what they like to eat for breakfast in the morning, and whether or not they make their bed according to Dwayne Casey, fire your scouts. Because what the hell have they been doing this whole time? Your mind should be made up on these guys at this point.
I honestly do think, I mean, this is coming from a complete outside perspective. I do think throughout the draft process, probably the most insightful thing for GMs or coaches or scouts, I feel like it's the interview process because you before that, you never had a chance to sit down and actually talk to the kid. And that's like the one time I actually get a chance to sit down and talk to kids, see what they're all about kind of thing. But Troy Weaver did have a Q&A with reporters, like a draft Q&A. There was one question that I felt was fairly interesting and could kind of be slightly telling as to where they go with their draft pick. Mm-hmm. So he was asked, generally speaking, when people talk about a prospect being older, they say he doesn't have upside. If a guy hasn't played much or doesn't have a lot of tape, he might be mysterious. We can clearly see who we're talking about, these two, and consider to have upside. What are your thoughts on judging upside, whether it's age, lack of court time, or whatever? So this is Troy Weaver's response. To me, upside is a growth mindset. I don't prescribe to the idea that if a guy is 23 years old, that he can't grow, doesn't have upside. There are some guys where 19, 18 limit themselves. I've seen a couple of players, young players, and said it's going to be a while because he just doesn't get it. It's the mental aspect of it, how a player approaches things, how he's been coached, what's been untapped. It's a whole process of trying to uncover and untap guys being able to grow. But to me, age has nothing to do with that.
Now, did you say this was Dwayne Casey or Troy Weaver?
This is Troy Weaver.
I think half of what he said is trying to be the smartest guy in the room, and half of what he said is actually kind of true. As it comes to the older guys, the guys who are a little bit older, I disagree with him. If the upside was there, they would have been taken already. In today's NBA, upside is something that scouts will see and or create from a million miles away when they're like 14 years old. So if it's there, they'll go after it. If there's a lack of upside, he'll use those extra years to boost his stock in college because he's a solid fundamental or foundational, not foundational, but a solid player. He's proven he can play in a role a little bit better. And I think Saddiq Bey is one of those guys. I don't think that there is huge upside with guys like that. I think the upside is limited. And if that was the case, if what Troy Weaver was saying is true, then we wouldn't be seeing guys get taken so early anymore. We'd see guys stay around a little bit longer. We'd see more stars come out of the guys who were taken at 22, 23, and we don't. That's just proven. The stars come out of the guys taken at 18, 19, 20 years old. That's a fact. So I think Troy Weaver be trying to be a little too, the smartest guy in the room. Now, I will say that there are guys at 18, 19 years old that do limit themselves. I 100% agree with that. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a perfect example of that. That dude had tons
Michael
of
Beasley
upside.
is a perfect example of that too.
Tons of upside. And it just hasn't really happened because of not enough seasoning, not enough heart, not enough effort, whatever it be, not enough maturity. But when you take the risk of taking a guy at that age, you take the risk of missing those aspects. And also thinking creating upside that isn't there. And that I think is the case with guys like Michael Beasley, Jaren Jackson Jr. They created some of this upside that wasn't actually there. And a lot of that is because of the lack of effort, heart, whatever it may be, maturity. So the upside wasn't actually there. They just thought it was. But if he had stayed a little bit longer, they probably could have seen that, and he probably would have still taken pretty high. But he is who he is at that point. And I think that's what you get out of guys like the role players, like a Saddiq Bey, who I still think has quite a bit of upside, but I don't think he's ever a guy that's going to transition into becoming a star in this league.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I don't know if I do agree with the whole growth mindset thing. I don't know if I would label it as upside. I would just be like this. I'm basing whether this guy can reach his full potential on his mindset, on how he approaches the game, how he approaches his craft.
Right, which at that point...
Like for a guy like Keegan Murray, I fully believe he will be the best player that Keegan Murray can be. I just don't think the best player that Keegan Murray can be is a number 5 overall pick. That's like...
I disagree with that in the sense that there's too many factors that go into that that you can even argue are outside of that player's control.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying, like, that's like one of the main things for me is, do they have the want to do it? Do they have the willingness to drive to get to where they could be?
I think to say like a player, and I don't think this is really what the question that Troy Weaver was being asked is saying, but to say that a player can't reach his potential because they were taken at 23, I think that's wrong. And I think that's how Troy Weaver spun his answer. But I don't think that's the question he was asked.
I'm not saying it's the question he was asked. I said I buy into it more as reaching potential rather than maximizing upside.
See, I think the question he was asked was, are guys taken at, in the later on in their lives at 22, 23,
they have less upside.
They have less upside, which I think that is absolutely a fact.
Yeah.
But I absolutely think, part of reaching your fullest potential is a mindset, is a work ethic, a mentality, a maturity, as well as a heart thing. That absolutely, that's part of it.
Now, it doesn't always translate.
Factors, right. There's many other factors involved in that, like actual legitimate God-given talent level.
Yeah.
Whether or not you get hurt, how you're integrated into your system, the coaching you receive. Like there's a lot of factors into whether or not a guy can reach his potential that go beyond the player himself. But mindset is part of that. And that's the one thing that player can control. But I don't think the upside is something that really plays there.
Yeah.
Because upside is what it is. It's your potential is there. And if it's seen by scouts when you're 19 years old, they're going to be taking you. But if it's not there, your potential is not going to change. If anything, it may drop a little bit as you get a little bit older, but you may still find yourself solidifying a role inside of the NBA because you become a more mature and a better basketball player. But your potential is not going to change.
Yeah. Anyway, so what can we take from this in terms of what the Pistons are going to do? Because it does look like Troy Weaver does really look for a not just physical tools, but actual basketball mindset, IQ. Does that make you a little bit afraid you might go the Keegan Murray route? It could. Not. Ben Math fits this, by the way. Ben Math fits the high IQ, like a gym rat that also has upside. Not the upside Jane Ivey, but also has upside.
Yes,
so he does fit it.
I don't think Keegan Murray is a very good basketball player, if you want me to be honest. And I'm not the only one who believes that. Like, I think Keegan Murray will be a solid role player in this league, but I don't think he has the upside of a top 5 pick in my mind. I think he was had his flaws hidden in Iowa's system, and I think you reach the max what he can give you in Iowa's system. And I think you put him in an NBA system, it'll be an absolute detriment because those flaws will come out. You can't hide those in the NBA.
Yeah, we talked about the struggling to score against length in college, and
right,
and also against just in general the better competition, how his numbers kind of dipped. So no, there's definitely something to that.
You don't get easy days in the NBA. Is my point. Like you had a lot of easy days playing for Iowa because an NBA or an NCAA schedule is a hell of a lot easier than an NBA schedule.
Yeah.
I see so many flaws in Keegan Murray's game when you deep dive into him and look at the film, look at the numbers, look at what he's done. It's just I don't want any part of that. So
I don't disagree.
And
with you.
Benedict III, on the other hand, yeah, he's a gym rat. Yeah, he's a guy who gets after it. He's got great work ethic, but he's also a guy who's got some talent and potential.
Yep.
I like Benedict Mathurin. I'm just not entirely sure his upside, again, is a top 5 pick worthy player. That's all. So let's go ahead and move on into the mock drafts here to close things out. So how I thought we should do this is we just do a simulator. Do you want to do what do you want to do? A simulator of the first round, full draft, just the lottery?
No, yeah, just the lottery.
Just the lottery? All right, let's do just the lottery. We're going to get started here. So
I mean, we're just mocking the Pistons pick at 5 based on what happens 1 through 4, right?
I believe so, yes.
Or are you mocking some trades here? Share your screen, by the way, so I can
see if I can get this to work the way I want it to. Because I got things to work with the other one, but now I'm wondering if I can get it to work with this one because the other one sucked. All right, let me share my screen here. There we go. Okay, so obviously Pistons are picking at 5. We've got the Magic, Thunder, Rockets, and Kings ahead of us with the Pacers, Blazers, Pels, Spurs, Wizards, Knicks, Thunder, Hornets, and Cavs rounding it out. So first overall was Chet Holmgren. Then
damn it,
it's doing it again. Why is it doing it like this?
Are you seeing that issue where you get multiple?
I am. It gives like multiple picks to one team. Anyways, this is terrible radio. Terrible.
In the meantime, I there are a couple questions that I'm going to want to close off with right after this, where basically we're going like we've done for every draft that we have covered on this podcast. We're going to do our best case realistic scenario.
Yeah. And
also I want to do one quick final, top 5 big board.
Okay. I like it. I think I got it working now. So, all right. First pick is Chet Holmgren. Second pick was Jabari Smith. Paolo Banchero was number 3. Jaden Ivey was number 4. So this is the worst case scenario in my mind. Keegan Murray, Dyson Daniel, Shaden Sharp, Ben Math, AJ Griffin, Jalen Duren, Johnny Davis. So
for me at this spot, it's between Ben Math and Shaden. I am currently too scared of Shaden to take him, so I'm taking Ben Math.
I will have to agree with you. I'm going to be taking Ben Math. I am a little bit scared of Shaden Sharp in that spot. I'm sorry, I didn't realize you couldn't even see my screen. So
no, you're good.
To round it out in the lottery, it went Beyond us, it went Keegan Murray, Jeremy Sochin, Shaden Sharp, Johnny Davis, AJ Griffin, Jalen Duren, Dyson Daniels, Malachi Branham, and Mark Williams.
I would seriously consider Sochin if we were to somehow get the Blazers' 7th pick for Jeremy Grant. But that's not here.
That'd be interesting. Absolutely. Let's run another one. That was quick.
A defensive wing menace.
We do. So this one, obviously, a lot better for us. It went the way we kind of expect things, I guess, to go. Jabari Smith 1, Paolo Banchero 2, Holmgren 3, Keegan Murray 4 to the Kings.
Pretty close. I think Chet goes 2 to the Thunder, personally, but then Banchero to the Rockets. But yeah, this is generally what I expect and hope the top 4 to look like.
I'll say this. The recent hype has been Banchero number 1.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
The recent hype has been Banchero 1, which I'm not buying. Just want to preface that. I am not buying it. I think Jabari Smith should be number 1. But in this one, I think it's no question. Jaden Ivey's the pick.
Yeah, I'm sprinting to the podium with that pick.
In fact, I will pull a Lions and sprint so fast to the podium the league gets mad at me.
This isn't a 40-yard dash.
Right. So basically, it rounded out us taking Jaden Ivey, Shaden Sharp 6 to the Pacers, Sochin 7 to the Blazers again.
7 again.
Ben Math 8, Dyson Daniels 9, Duren 10, Williams 11, Johnny Davis 12. I don't like Johnny Davis. Usman Dang 13, and then Walker Kessler 14 to the Cavs. So obviously we like this one better than the next. So to have a little bit more fun here, to coincide with our last NBA big board, I think you and I should do a mock draft. We take turns picking the top. Let's do top 5, just, because, let's do top 6.
And not sabotage it? What do you mean?
And not sabotage it. Let's do top 6. We're the number 1 pick. Who are we taking here? So to give you an example, CBS Sports, I believe their mock draft today is Paolo Banchero going number 1 overall. Sorry, this was yesterday's mock draft.
I mean, my opinion. If I had number 1 pick, I would have been pressing for the Pistons to take Chet. Orlando.
I'm going Jabari Smith in my mind.
I still think I'd personally go Chet. I could definitely see Jabari. I wouldn't go Paolo. That's basically what I'm saying.
I wouldn't go Paolo Banchero either. My pick is Jabari Smith. I think the upside is just as high as Chet Holmgren's in my mind, but the risk is lower. There's less risk there with Smith as there is with Banchero. So I'd go Jabari Smith. So number 2, that's where I'd go Chet. You'd probably go Smith.
Yep.
Yes? All right. Number 3, CBS has Shaden Sharp.
Oh, you're looking at the one that I saw. All right.
Yes.
Isn't that nice to see Chet Holmgren by a Pistons logo?
It is very unrealistic.
Yeah. At number 3, I would go Chet Holmgren.
You already took Chet Holmgren.
Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, Paolo. Wow, jeez.
I'd go Paolo Banchero as well at number 3. All right, number 4, we're the Kings. What do we do?
Do you see? I think the good move for the Kings shows how stupid they are for doing what they did earlier. I think the right move for them is to take Jaden Ivey, but it also shows their stupidity and lack of planning long term. But owners generally tend to win out in these things.
Does Jaden Ivey fit with the Kings?
Tyrese did.
Different player. Different player.
I
Not
agree.
a score first guy. Jaden Ivey's a score first guy. The reason I say that is because De'Aaron Fox is also a score first guy.
He is.
And they do have Davion Mitchell as well. They need guys in the wing. I honestly
I'm mocking Keegan because I also think I had also said from early on that I think Keegan is the best fit with the Kings, and that was also me being hopeful that the Kings would take Keegan. But and just in general, if I were the Kings, I would just take best player available. Maybe even someone. I would just take best player available and take Jaden Ivey. But I'm gonna say that ownership wins out here. Keegan Murray.
I'm going to agree with you. I would take Keegan Murray if I were them, just because of the fact that, I do think he fits more. I don't think Jaden Ivey really fits with that team. I think there would be what do you do?
I don't disagree.
What do you do with Davion Mitchell if you draft Jaden Ivey? Is what I'm worried about with the Kings situation. NBA DraftNet does have the Kings taking Jaden Ivey at 4. So with the Pistons in our mock, obviously we would go Jaden Ivey at 5, no question. So then number 6, the Indiana Pacers. Ben Math.
Are we mocking trades right now or no?
We can, if you'd like. So number 6, the Indiana Pacers. Do you like Ben Math? Do you like Shaden Sharp? What do you like there?
He just took a shooting guard, but I've been seeing them mocked either Ben Math or Shane Sharp basically over and over again.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go with Ben Math goes to Indiana.
Fun fact: this mock also has them taking a 1-2 guard, a combo guard in the second round.
Jesus Christ.
I would probably go Ben Math as well.
Now the 7th spot there's been a lot of rumors of Portland wanting to trade out of that spot.
Yes.
It's kind of been a little bit quiet though lately. We haven't.
We'll give you Jeremy Grant for him.
To say the rumor mill on Portland side has been a little bit quiet lately. The Atlanta one is one that's picked up a bit. But just for the sake of not taking all the way back to 16, let's say Portland trades number 7 for Jeremy Grant.
Jeremy Sochan, Dyson Daniels.
Yeah, like I'm very much thinking Jeremy Sochan, but there's also part of me that wants Jalen Duren, but I'm actually starting to like Mark Williams a little even more than Jalen Duren.
I can see that.
Yeah, give me Jeremy Sochan.
Jeremy Sochan. I like that pick, honestly. For me, it's between Jeremy Sochan and Mark Williams also. Jalen Duren's probably a next step down for me. So I'd probably go with Jeremy Sochan also. That defensive prowess there is going to be kind of nice. Another guy you can look at is a Dyson Daniels. He's a G League guy that they did work out. I don't know what the reports are from that.
Me neither. The only person I heard from when workouts was Ben Math. And in terms of Dyson Daniels, it's really starting to feel like Killian 2.0 in terms of who you're taking.
Fair. Just a lot.
It's a guy who sees the floor well. He's a really good defender. He doesn't have a good shooting percentage, but his free throw percentage is good. He's got nice form, so everyone believes his jump shot's going to come around. Is this starting to sound familiar, Nicholas?
Yes, very much. The other guy you can look at here at that spot is AJ Griffin. He fits the wing. He would allow Sadiq Bey to play probably the preferred position there. And he's kind of a Swiss Army knife in the fact that he's got a ton of length and kind of does a lot of things well, but nothing that excellently. And he's got a really nice shooting stroke. So I think AJ Griffin could be a pretty nice fit for the Pistons there also.
Yeah. He reminds me of defenseless Sadiq Bey.
The comparisons he gets are Jamal Mashburn, Robert Covington.
I can see it.
He doesn't have great foot speed. His biggest knock. But I think he definitely could be a guy that could potentially help the Pistons there. So, but anyways, obviously that probably does give us our big board also. Like in my mind, our big board is obviously at 5. We probably put. I'm going to be honest with you. I put Benedict Mathurin over Keegan Murray.
I do too.
Okay. 4, Jaden Ivey.
It's
3, I go Paolo Banchero. 2, Chet Holmgren. 1, Jabari Smith. And I think you and I just have 1 and 2 flip-flopped.
Yep.
I think exactly the potential with Chet Holmgren is the highest, but I think the floor is too low. Versus Jabari Smith, the potential is not that much lower than Holmgren's. But the floor is a lot higher, so that's why I value him as a higher prospect.
Give me dream scenario real quick.
We land one of Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith at 5.
Realistic scenario.
No, realistically speaking, one of these things can happen. We can we guarantee ourselves Jaden Ivey at 5, and we also trade Jeremy Grant to the Blazers at 7. Or to the Hawks at 16 with Bogdan Bogdanovic. I did it too.
Yeah.
Or we trade Jeremy Grant and a future protected first to the Kings for 4, and we end up with like Jaden Ivey and whoever. Could be Sochan, could be. Maybe we trade 5 back and go grab 7. This
is why I think I'd rather just do straight up Jeremy Grant for 7 instead of moving the future Because
As long as I can guarantee
what are you
we
going to
get
do?
5
Draft
also.
both Jaden Ivey and Ben Math, or are you going to convince yourself on Keegan Murray and draft Jaden and Keegan?
I don't hate that idea either. I ain't gonna lie. Like, because then if Keegan doesn't work out, I still at least got Jaden Ivey. But then I don't know. I really don't like Keegan Murray. Like, and I almost. Let me ask you this: would you rather keep Jeremy Grant or draft Keegan Murray? And I'm talking keep Jeremy Grant at the $25 million he's gonna get,
So re-sign him for the money he's going to get, or
draft Keegan Murray.
Christ, I'd like Jeremy Grant as a player better, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think I go Keegan.
I think I do too.
Because at least I know Keegan Murray is not going to command the ball too much in offense. For I have other people that want to command the ball,
And Jeremy Grant commands it a lot.
Yeah,
And he's also a lot
I can
cheaper.
better use that money elsewhere.
Yes,
And
I
then if
100%
Keegan Murray
agree
doesn't
with
pan
you.
Out, then I just let him walk.
So one last question before we close out: is Jeremy Grant in a Pistons uniform the day after the draft?
This is a yes or no answer.
On
basically?
Friday, is Jeremy Grant in a Pistons uniform? Yes or no?
No.
I'm going to agree with you. I say no. And that is my hope. So, anyways, guys, that is going to close it out for this week, unless you have anything else to add. No?
all
All
I
right,
got.
that is going to close it out for this week, guys. Fingers crossed come draft day. Let us know your thoughts on the draft. Curious to hear what everybody thinks. We will catch you guys next week to give our draft reactions. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast, and thank you to Andrew for joining me. We will catch you guys later. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekends. Try to stay cool again. Why is it always hot when we record?
I don't know. I normally close the door in this room, but I've been leaving it open lately. I've been leaving the door open, literal door open to noise coming into the pod.
Nice. So, but anyways, guys, thank you again. This has been the Fan Reporters. Bye, fans.
Or fans.
Have a good one, guys. Peace out.
Peace.